Hello team, my name is Lida Caballero. I am working on the BrizHome version 4.0 with Dr. Masoud Sayadi as my product owner and mentor. I will introduce and walk you through the details of the development process of the SortRealEstateListing based on preferred attributes user interface feature of BrizHome. If you have any questions in reference to my user story, please feel free to contact me, and for any questions in regards to BrizHome, please contact Professor Masoud Sayadi. I will post our contact information at the end of the video. First, let's go over the user story that briefly explains as a developer what the feature wants to accomplish and what functionality we should have. One of the first steps when developing a new feature is to make the requirements of elicitation that allows to understand the needs of our product owner and customers. Looking at the acceptance criteria here, we as a developer will be able to determine what the feature is expected to provide and how the feature should respond to a particular situation between the user interface. These requirements depend mainly on the user of the system. Based on the user story, we have different functional requirements here in our acceptance criteria. For example, I need that my feature allows users to designate a value of importance to these attributes. In the same way, to sort lists based on what the user rated from highest to lowest, and also allow the user to drag these attributes into some order or click to select attributes that will move programmatically into some order. Finally, users can sort property based on the order of the pop-up panel. On the next slide, a picture of the original design was provided as a guideline to meet all the specifications of this feature. It displays a list of attributes that will perform different functions as indicated in our acceptance criteria before. Once the functional requirements are collected, we continue by creating use cases for each function requirement and a use case that contains all my use cases. This will be done using SortUML, and I strongly recommend you to check out one of our BrizHome video tutorials on how to start using UML, created by one of our teammates, Alex Duboison. In here, I have already created a use case diagram called Sort Property List, which is this, on this side. Then, next, I have created an actor, which will be my home buyer in here, and a use case sort properties by different attributes is created with an association between these two. The actor, you can create it from here on the left side, the use case, and the association between them. I also need to add more use cases like price, size, bids, and bats that will be contained between our use case, which is this one. These are an extension of our sort properties use case, and we need to make an extend association, which is indicated here, between them from the price to the sort properties by different attributes. And we do this by clicking extend on this side, and we need to make sure that we do it from the price use case to the sort by different attributes. Lastly, if we think about what is in each of these use cases, we found that each one contains the low to high and the high to low use case. So we need to create these use cases and make and include association between them from the bets to high to low, as we shown here, the include association. And to create it, we need to come here to the left and click on the include association. So that will be all for our use case diagram that is going to help us to build our class diagrams and our sequence diagrams. So now we move forward into our second step for development. That will be our requirement analysis. In here, we analyze things like the people who use the system and their interactions, the data needed, scenarios that will show us the user behavior and needs. We start with the class diagram, which I have already created. So let's go there. It should be this one. And this one, it will show us all the classes and it will give us a good indication of which functions we need to create. We can see the results view, HTML, that will display all the property lists. We also have the result controller that allows to show the modal into the sort property views. That will be this one. We also have the sort property controller that will have all the functions that allows the user to have multiple interaction between the panel. I have also created a sequence diagram based on the classes, which is displayed in here, that shows the steps and model the interactions between the user or the actor of the system and the interfaces of the software. So for example, our actor, the home buyer, will see the property list in the results view. This view is run by the results controller and it will control and shows the modal in the sort property views right here. So now let's say the user click the attribute. So a response is given back by updating the modal with its selection. In here, I have a loop that indicates that he can select multiple attributes and see each time the updated modal. After the user is satisfied with this selection, he can click the apply sort and a reply message is sent back by closing the modal and showing the properties fully sorted according to what he selected. So now let me show you the actual code and which folder I have worked on. Let's open the virtual machine. And first, let's run our backend and front-end server. Let's open Wiki to see the commands that we need to type. So in contribution, type this. Get into setup development environment, virtual machine tutorial, and scroll down in here where we can see the commands that we need to run. Let's open terminal. Let's start with the backend. So let's get into the right folder, the API Django. Then we type the source bin to activate, and then we run the Python 3 manage py run server. Let's do the same for the front end. Let's get into our folder, the BriskHome desktop, and just type run server. And the BriskHome page is displayed. Since we already indicated in our sequence diagram where the properties are listed, let's open that file. So let's get into IntelliJ. Let's open this BriskHome desktop app and let's open the views, which will be the results HTML. So now I have to look for this view controller, which is in the same app folder, scripts, controllers, and we look for the GS folder, which is the result GS. Now if we scroll down to the bottom, I have already placed my function that is called show sort property model that is gonna be redirecting to this view, the sort property HTML, and to the controller sort property controllers. Now let's go back to result HTML so I can show you where I have called this function. So in here I have created a button that on an ng-click event is gonna call that function, the show sort property models. Next, I need to create my view and my controller. So for the view, I have to go to Views, Models, and in here, I'm gonna create my sort property HTML, which I have already done it. In here, I create a layout that displays a list of attributes and icons that later will have a specific functionality, like here. So this is the button that is going to allow me to close the model. This is the icon that is going to apply the sort. And in here is where all the attributes will be displayed with these corresponding icons. So let me show you a quick demo. So let's go back to the result page. Let's click this icon. And the model is open with this corresponding view. After the model is done, I need to create the styling for my view. So let's go back to IntelliJ. And now let's create the sort property.css file. So let's go back up. And in here, in the same app folder, let's go back to styles. And in here, we are going to find and create the sort property CSS that I have already created. So let's open the file, and in here I'm gonna describe how elements should be displayed in the HTML. So for example, all this section is used for my model. If we scroll down, this is where we are gonna list our properties and its own attributes, the font size that we want to use, the background that we want to achieve, that is going to be the same color that we are using throughout the project. We're also going to have the different behaviors that we have when the element is selected or when the element is not selected. We also have the different behaviors for the icons. For example, this is the check icon. This is the arrow up icon. And this is the block that shows the icon and the high to low and low to high, how it should be displayed. So let me show you a quick demo. Let's open the model. And this is the icons that I was talking about. The arrow up, the one that describes if it's high to low or low to high. And in here, when I select the element, it's gonna change the color, and the check icon is gonna be shown. Lastly, don't forget to include this file into the main CSS. So let's go back to IntelliJ. And here in the styles, we have to go to the main and scroll up. And in here, we need to import the file that we just created, sort properties. Now let's move into creating the controller for the sort properties view. This is where all the functionality between the modal takes place. So let's go back and create the controller. Same, let's go to scripts, controller, and let's create the file sort property.js. Let's open it. And in here, I have placed all the functions that are needed for each specific functions between the panel. Like, for example, when the element is clicked, when I click the arrow up, when I click the high to low or low to high, and when I apply this check that is gonna apply the sort to all the selected elements in the panel. I can also be able to sort and drag the elements like this. So if I look back into the UML class diagram that I have already created, these functions are the one that needs to be implemented. So for example, click an attribute, click arrow, sortable attribute, reverse priority, and apply sort. So let's go back to here and let's go over these functions. So in here we need to create our controller that's gonna call SortProperties controller that needs to match with the one that we have already created in the model SortProperty controller. Let's go back to SortProperty, yes. First, I need to create an object array that holds my attributes and has the value selected and ascending initialized to false. So this is my array and this is the values. So this will help me through the function to determine if a specific attribute is being selected or not. Starting with this function, click attribute, which is called in the sort properties right here. Allow me to select or unselect elements or click event. Selected elements are moved programmatically to top of the list and other selected elements are placed after. And the select elements are moved in the same manner to bottom of the list. The next function is the click arrow that behaves similar to the other one, but its difference is that elements are placed always on top, which is this. That function is called right here, click arrow. Now apply sort creates a hash map, which is this, where we have a key that are the attributes and its value that is the name from the backend, which is this. So in here we loop through the items, and if elements are selected, we push it into a new array that its content will be copied to the rososcope variable in here that will be used in the result.js. So we go to this controller, the result.js, and in here we create a function that is going to return an array that holds all the attributes that have been selected. This function is going to be called in the result HTML right here in the order by, and what it's going to be doing is going to be take all the elements and it's going to sort the properties by those elements in the array. And lastly, this is the function that is going to allow me to drag all the elements and move it into a specific order. So now I'm gonna do a final quick demo. Let's open the model. I'm gonna click size. It's gonna go programmatically to the top. Bats is gonna go under beds, and it's gonna go the same way. Size. If I click it, it's gonna go to the bottom. Bats is gonna go above that. Beds and price the same. If I click the arrow up, size is gonna go on top. If I click beds, it's gonna move programmatically to the bottom, and if I click beds in here, it's gonna go to the top. I can also change high to low, low to high, and high to low. So now let's go and do a quick demo for the sort properties. So let's do it in beds and price, and let's do beds low to high and price high to low. So now we can see that beds are going as in an ascending order. So 1, 2, and 3, and 3. And now how does the second attribute works? Is that when we have the same number of beds, price is gonna go in a descending order. For example, 335, 320, and 314. So these prices are going in a descending order when the first attribute had the same number of beds. And lastly, let's open the model, and in the same way I can select the attributes and I can move it, drag it, and the elements are gonna change in the order. If I try to put this one into this one, in between these two, the element is gonna move back to the other position. Same thing here. And this was a detailed process that explains how I implement my feature. I hope you find this video interesting and helpful. If there are any concerns and questions about the video, please feel free to contact me. And about BRISCOM, please feel free to contact Professor Masood Sayadi to his email as shown here. Thanks for watching.